You can imagine Elon Musk is the only person or individual to help Ukraine against Russia. So this could be his indirect way of saying to Ukraine that we will stop Russia. But for you to get a good grasp of it, make sure to stay tuned until the end of the video. Welcome to Elon Musk Era. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on our upcoming videos about Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and more. With the current situation that Elon Musk has done to help Ukraine, let us analyze what is happening right now. Those of you who watched our previous video will be aware that Elon Musk's Starlink is now in Ukraine. So how does this technology work, and is it possible to silence it? In response to the request of the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Elon Musk activated a large number of Starlink terminals in the country. So they have been fortunate to be able to continue having satellite internet throughout the country thanks to this. With the orbits of the satellites launched already in the first place, we are confident that we will be able to cover the entire territory of Ukraine. And now, the country benefits from satellite internet. Moreover, we explained how it works and the dangers it may pose to the residents of the country. Currently, it is unknown exactly who will receive the terminals, but the government and the military will probably be the first to use them. As a result of the invasion of Russia, Starlink can also help Ukraine a great deal with internet access issues. In response to a request from the Ukrainian Vice Prime Minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has already activated Starlink terminals to Ukraine, the world's first country to get satellite internet. This is because, in many parts of the country, access to the internet has been disrupted after the start of the military operations in Ukraine. That is why Starlink satellite internet is one solution, with the owner Elon Musk's company, SpaceX. And this is exactly what Mikhailo Fedorov, the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, recently asked Musk on Twitter. Nevertheless, John Scott Railton, a senior researcher at Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto, took to Twitter to warn that the terminals could become targets for the Russians. So he tweeted, regarding @Elon Musk's Starlink donation, "Good to see, but remember, if Putin controls the air above Ukraine, users' uplink transmissions become beacons for airstrikes." Furthermore, such claims are baseless as long as satellite internet is solely for civilian purposes and not military, as the Russian army, following their statement, targets only military facilities while attempting to avoid damaging civilian properties. Experts, however, assert that the military troops could triangulate a signal's location using the information provided by terminals, and thus calculate the object's location with their subsequent attack. On the other hand, it is important to emphasize that there is no evidence of such a possibility, and that the Russian army does not interact with Ukrainian citizens, despite numerous frames in the network that demonstrate the opposite. But how does the Starlink network work? These terminals look like home satellite TV dishes and are capable of providing relatively fast internet for residential purposes. To accomplish this, there are already satellites in low Earth orbits that were launched with the help of SpaceX rockets. Also, there are several satellites in orbit around the Earth that are part of Starlink. Additionally, Elon Musk's company in the United States plans to expand its satellite network to ensure uninterrupted access to the internet from anywhere in the world soon. As of February 25, 2022, SpaceX has announced the successful launch of 50 new mini-satellites for the Starlink global internet network into Earth orbit. Further, this is already the 39th satellite to be withdrawn since May 2019. At present, SpaceX's satellite constellation has almost 2,000 components, resulting in the company being the largest satellite operator in the world. Furthermore, Wikipedia says that Starlink was launched by SpaceX to provide high-speed satellite internet access to remote areas in which it had previously been outdated, unreliable, costly, or inaccessible. Elon Musk, the billionaire, inventor, engineer, and pioneer of the space industry, responded on February 26 to Roscosmos' Dmitry Rogozin regarding this message about the sanctions and the question of who will prevent the ISS from dipping too low after restrictions were imposed on the Russian space industry. Moreover, the future security of the International Space Station was among the messages Rogozin posted on Twitter. He asked if they would like their cooperation on the ISS to be destroyed. He also asked whether the US is doing this by limiting exchanges between their astronaut training centers and cosmonaut training centers. Aside from this, he asked if, alternatively, would they like to manage the program by themselves. Perhaps President Biden is not familiar with the subject, therefore, he explained that Russian Progress Mississippi cargo ships are used exclusively to direct the station's orbits and thereby avoid dangerous approaches to space debris, undertaken by your talented businessman in the near-Earth orbit. So, the head of Roscosmos' message went on this way: if you block cooperation with us, who will save the ISS from an uncontrolled descent from orbit and falling to the territory of the United States? Meanwhile, with an answer that the Russians weren't expecting, Elon Musk responded quickly by publishing the logo of his company, SpaceX. There is no doubt that throughout SpaceX's history, we see that private businesses can be more effective than government agencies in literally any form of activity, even in a complex and expensive area such as space exploration. Furthermore, SpaceX's company has now shifted to commercial flights to the International Space Station, which will allow them to earn money for later projects. Additionally, a valid contract between NASA and the company establishes mutually beneficial collaboration, and this is the company's main customer at the same time. Moreover, with SpaceX, NASA is hoping for the continuation of the International Space Station mission. Aside from this, Russia announced that it would slowly withdraw from the ISS project in 2014, which means that it will not be able to deliver payloads and astronauts to the station. Meanwhile, SpaceX founder Elon Musk was described in a statement by Roscosmos chief Dmitry Rogozin as picking a side in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Also, the statement was made taking into account the success of the American company in providing the equipment required for deployment of a satellite system to provide internet access. Furthermore, Ukrainian residents have already posted screenshots of their measurements on the internet. Moreover, launched satellites have already been delivered to Ukraine. On the screenshot from the speed test site from Kiev, you can see that the download speed varies from 100 to 200 megabytes per second. And in terms of distribution on the internet of Musk's other company, Starlink, there is his SpaceX company involved. Additionally, Musk is going to use fiber optic cable to cover the 6% of the planet's surface that is not covered by terrestrial fiber optic cables to cover the space internet. In which case, the Russians and Westerners began clashing when Russia implemented its highest national interests in Ukraine, which served as a springboard for the West to launch a full-scale attack on their citizens. And Musk was there to the rescue with his equipment, and Rogozin was furious. He went on to say that the Starlink company, which had previously been declared to be a purely civilian enterprise, is a Merlot that has been opened. This is the West, which we should never trust since it has been hostile to us for centuries. According to Roscosmos' head, providing Ukraine with Starlink equipment has no meaning, since the computers will not work without receiving stations, which cost about $10,000 each, and that there should be many of these stations. And Rogozin emphasized that this is rather a PR campaign for his next war. Meanwhile, in a promise to impose sanctions on the Russian space program, President Joe Biden says he will do so. He also said that the US imports to Russia are expected to be blocked by more than half. Then, they will not be able to continue modernizing their armed forces because of this. In addition, Biden said it will harm the space program as well as the aerospace industry. Also, the American leader added such a situation would impair Russia's economic competitiveness, adding that Vladimir Putin will suffer a significant setback in his long-term strategic plans. Further, cyber attacks on Russian websites are being conducted by volunteers in Ukraine. Should it be a concern? Despite the ridiculous-sounding phrase, Ukrainian hackers, the threat still exists. Will the state portal and local media stand up? Also, Ukraine is recruiting volunteers for cyber attacks against Russian websites. Further, a call has already been made by the Ukrainian government for its citizens to go into battle and take up arms. However, there were not so many willing, and these measures were unable to stop the Russian offensive. Mikhailo Fedorov also announced on Twitter on February 27th that an IT army would be created in the country. Then, he said that volunteers would be able to perform operational tasks in a Telegram chat, and the chat now has almost 230,000 subscribers. In one way or another, it focuses on DDoS attacks against various Russian-related websites. But how will hackers attack Russian sites? The organizers call for attacking the services of Gazprom Lukoil and Yandex, among others. While the first two can feel the shock of the cyber wars in Ukraine, Yandex's servers are not so vulnerable to DDoS attacks, because the company has continually been subjected to such attacks. While the number of IT army goals is long, the dispersion of efforts simply will not be able to achieve them all. Unlike others, some companies will not experience the attacks and their servers may go down briefly, but they will eventually return to work. So we hope that this war will eventually come to an end, and Elon Musk will be able to stop Russia in its tracks. That's all for this video about Elon Musk saying that he will stop Russia, and thank you for watching. If you would like to receive updates on Elon Musk and his companies, make sure you click the subscribe and bell button.